Hello, everyone. Welcome to Puzzle Huddle with Experts. We're at the beginning of another cool episode. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel so you can be aware of our content as we continue to bring you awesome interviews. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Nadia Barnett. She's an assistant professor of human services and psychology at Mercer University. She also has a Ph.D. in counselor education and supervision. And folks, I've known Nadia for, see, I messed it already, Dr. Barnett.
Hey, you can call me Nadia, that's fine.
Yeah, I was worried about that. I said, I've known this person for 20 years. She was not Dr. Barnett when I met her, but I'm going to try to keep up with your professional progression and refer to you appropriately as Dr. Barnett. But if you could introduce yourself and explain to me and to the world what your professional experience is and what you do for a living.
Absolutely. And I am completely fine with us going on first name basis because that is the foundation of our relationship. So no need to put the Dr. Nadia on there, just Nadia. So I have a background in clinical mental health counseling, and I worked for about 10 years within the mental health space. And I transitioned during my doctoral program into higher education. And now I am a professor for a graduate program in human services. So really this field of human services really encapsulates individuals that work in the space of whether it's mental health or social services that aren't the licensed or certified professionals. So they would be the professionals that may be managing an office of social services or an agency, providing that frontline support directly to clients. And so this is a very unique population that we don't consider when we think about social services or mental health services, but this is a population of individuals that we need and allow those that have a license or certification to do their job and to do their job to their best ability. So that's the space that I teach in addition to teaching courses in psychology, and I still teach courses in counselor education. So that is my academic professional background right now.
All right, so for a person to get a PhD, yeah, that's a lot of education. What might have happened in your life journey that really made that, a priority for you to seek, that much learning in a specific topic to earn a PhD?
Well, I will say that let me first off by saying that anybody can get a doctorate degree. Let me just kind of lay that foundation, because it's not, it really, if you're a person that can be disciplined, you're a person that understands sacrifice, and you can temporarily sacrifice in your life to reach your goal, you can do anything that you want to do. So let me just kind of lay that out.
Okay.
I was a student at Howard who was okay. And I will say that and admit that I was still trying to find myself. And so when I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I kind of fell into the space of getting a master's degree in counseling. And so that aligned with my undergrad degree in psychology very well. I still didn't know what I wanted to do with that. So after working in the mental health field, I realized I absolutely love working with clients with from severe mental illness to those that are our everyday struggling with different levels of stress. Now, from that experience that I had some leadership positions that I was able to transition into, and that led me to think about maybe teaching as an option, and not teaching K through 12, but teaching at the college level. And in order to do that, you need a doctorate degree. And so that's what motivated me to go back to school. I specifically sought counselor education because that was the field that I'm in, and that's where I see the direction of needed mental health services, not only in the space of your psychiatrists, your psychologists, your clinical social workers, but in clinical professional counseling as well, to help support our country and the mental health needs that will continue to be there. So that led me into getting the doctorate degree.
Nadia, you said that you enjoy working with mental health patients. Not many people would describe working with mental patients as something that gives them joy. Can you describe how do you understand it that it brings you satisfaction and joy?
It brings me to a place of being humble and grateful and thankful for what I do have. So when I'm working with clients, I think about them as a human being first. And I think about, this person that I'm working with, regardless of what they're experiencing now in this moment, whether it's thoughts of wanting to hurt themselves, thoughts of wanting to hurt someone else, they're hearing voices, they're seeing other things or people around in the space. In this moment, if what I can do is provide a level of comfort, demonstrate a level of hope, give them a level or a sense of someone cares about them, that's what gives me joy. And I have found in my connections with clients, we make a connection on the basis of humanity, just being a human and knowing that what they're going through right now is no different, or is no different, excuse me, than if I'm experiencing diabetes. I'm a hypertension patient. And it's just, we're both in a space where we need some help from the outside. And it just really gives me a sense of purpose in my being, in my presence, in that moment, in that time with my clients. So that's where the joy comes from. Because I go home and I'm so thankful that I'm able to, one, be able to have my own mind and understanding together enough to have a job, to be able to provide for my family, to be able to have a family that loves me, supports me, and has not given up on me. So I walk away with just a full sense of gratitude, but I hope that I've planted a seed for my clients that not everybody is going to be afraid of you. And the people that understand, let them in so they can help you.
Yeah, that makes it so much more compelling that, whoever the patient is, they're a person. They were a kid. They have, people that love them. They laugh, they cry. They have parents, they have siblings. Like they're a whole living and breathing person in this life and world. And they need some outside help to navigate that. Thinking about that makes me aware of when I've been exposed to substance abuse addiction in my lifetime. And it's not a person, it's not a wild and crazy person. This is a person that needs some help managing their behavior and getting to an outcome that's a little bit more healthy, but they're not an addict by, purposeful decision making to be an addict. That's usually not the case.
Absolutely.
So to pursue a PhD, you got to really be in love with the education process. How did your parents make education a priority for you when you were a child, so that you just kind of had the inspiration to pursue a path through schooling to get this, this professional achievement?
Absolutely. Both of my parents so I was raised by a single mom, but my father was present, and they both instilled the key notion that you need education in order to get where you're trying to go. So that's number one. Number two, the value of just knowledge and the value of learning was emphasized. And so when you're speaking to people, that you actually have some information to either share, or you have questions based on being able to critically think, that you can then ask. And I am the daughter of a mother who's an immigrant. So I think that also plays a part into.
I did not know that. From where?
From Jamaica. So my mother's family, her and her siblings, they immigrated from Jamaica when they were like all teenagers, middle school teenagers, so a little bit of an older child. And the emphasis was education, that there was no option after high school that you can do whatever you want to do. The option was after high school, you go to college. That is the direction that you go. And after college, then you figure out whatever it is that you want to do. My father is a Vietnam vet. And so for him, his idea or perspective about education is that it gives you opportunities. And he felt that he didn't have as many opportunities because he wasn't educated. And so that both of them preach the same message: go to college. Now, their understanding of what college can do was not really there. It wasn't crystallized, but they knew that they needed to push go to college, and in hopes that college would then, that environment, the people that I'd interact with, the professors, staff, would then help me with figuring out what to do next.
Lord, this is amazing. I didn't know we needed a Zoom call to get a chance to know each other. Because I've known you for 20 years. I did not know your mother was Jamaican, and I did not know your dad was a Vietnam vet. So
Yes.
thank goodness for this process.
Absolutely.
So now with your professional experience, and now I'm jumping to a later question, but it's bubbling up right now in terms of my inquiry. How does your professional experience change how you parent? You're the parent of two young children.
Yes.
How does that professional experience and also the academic insight, how does it change or expose itself in your parenting?
I will say that I am very hyper vigilant and sensitive to social and emotional needs first. The academic portion of, wanting your child to go to school and learn, that's great. But I think based on my experience, based on my education, social emotional needs are the foundation for any person in going into any field, right? You think about individuals who don't like to be around people. Well, how successful is that person going to be in life, especially now where we may not physically be connected with each other, but we have to know how to work together. So I am right now am very concerned with making sure that both of my kids, I have a son and a daughter, are socially and emotionally grounded and supported, and I'm pouring into that foundation. So if that means that if I feel that my children need to see a therapist, I will do that. And I can say that COVID has definitely taken me to the place of my child is going to see a therapist because they were very comfortable being at home, being behind this boundary or border that we call a computer, interacting with friends. But the transition to being in school was causing worry, right? And we hear this with our kids. We hear like, well, what do I do? What do I do when I go to school? Or what do I say when someone says something to me? And it may come out in different ways, but you can hear there's a level of concern or a level of anxiety. And for me, that triggered like, I'm going to let you see somebody, because one, I can't counsel my kids. I can't counsel my family because we have a close relationship. But what I can do is utilize the fact that I know that therapy works and is helpful, and make sure that you get with someone who can help you and talk through this, because what actually my child needed was some coping mechanisms on how to connect with people in real life without this computer screen. So I'm an advocate for mental health services. I myself have my own therapist that I'm able to talk to and process things. And so it doesn't just stop with me. I do that for my kids. I support their level of curiosity that is appropriately normal. And we do address and talk about things like, only the doctor and mommy and daddy can see you completely without clothes, right? We do have those conversations, and I am very sensitive to listening to how their day went and who are the people that are interacting with them, the adults, excuse me, not only the adults, but the other kids in their class, and what types of interactions are they having, and then evaluating, okay, so my daughter says she has a boyfriend and she's 5. Okay, before I jump to conclusions, let me kind of ask some other questions. Well, what does that really mean? Right. And then when you start asking questions, then you start saying like, okay, this isn't what I'm thinking it is. This is what she thinks it is.
Yeah.
And developmentally, like, okay, that's appropriate. It's not a big thing. I'm not a proponent for immediately reacting to kids, because I have to know that I have to understand what their understanding is of whatever it is they're talking about. Because I know what it is, but do they really know what it is? And so that helps me to kind of stop and let me just ask questions, and let me just find out, what it is, and explore that a little bit more. The last thing I will say, I encourage a sense of openness. So I want my kids to be able to talk to me about anything. So there may be times where I'll say, I need you to tell me this, or I need you to explain to me that, and know that I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to, my whole goal here is to make sure that you're safe. That's my job, is to protect you and make sure that you're safe. This sounds kind of weird to me. So help me understand, because I have a child that is concerned about disappointing me. So because I am aware of that and I know that, I need to make sure that I tread lightly, because I know that disappointing me is a big deal for him. And I don't want him to ever feel like he can't talk to me because he'll be disappointing me. And so really twisting that perspective around, that the disappointment would be when you don't tell me what's going on, or when you feel like you can't talk to me, because that's when we need to address it. So open lines of communication, both ways. So when they ask me questions, mommy, you're always at that computer. What are you doing? And just being honest, this is a way that I make sure that I can provide for you. So sometimes I can play and hang out, and sometimes I can't. And that's just that's what mommy has to do.
You got to a place I wasn't expecting this to be this interesting, but you mentioned that you're hyper vigilant about your kids' social and emotional development. Now a lot of parents, some of us probably seek some balance. Others are really prioritizing academic development, and maybe it's with less attention to the social emotional development. So listening, spending time with our kids in conversation, understanding, talking to them, and maybe in some cases counseling and therapy. What other, because this is a good tool chest of things. What other things can I do? I'm gonna just put myself on the block here.
Okay.
To better support my young kids' social and emotional development.
So the main thing is, and parenting or caregiving is a very hard thing to do. You have to take yourself out, right? Which is crazy, because we made them. We contributed to these individuals becoming alive in some way. But recognizing the type of child that you have, and respecting that child is different from you. So I will say, I enjoy, or not enjoy, I take pride on being able to grind things out, being able to hustle, being able, like it just is something that I've learned how to do, and I respect that I can do it. And it has gotten me to this point in my life. Well, I don't have kids that understand or even want to grind. They don't want to hustle. And instead of me trying to make them hustle, make them grind, I have to respect that, okay, this is a different person. And the best thing I can do with this person is figure out what is it that I see social and emotionally, that I need to support them. So one thing I have two children and they are very different, right? We hear, you can have kids, same mom and dad, they're different. Well, I need to respect the difference. So my son is very much an introvert. He will have, if he has friends that we try to set play dates on, it has to be like maybe one or two, not too many people in his space. I have to respect that. But one of the things I noticed is it's difficult for him to make connections. So let me pause it right here. So in my experience, in my profession, my focus has been human behavior. In everything that I do, I'm looking at the human behavior. I'm looking at how important it is relationships are to human behavior. So that's a really big focus for me, is relationships and that impact it has on how we act and interact with others. All right, so now I have my son who's introvert. He has one or two friends, and it's fine when you're in kindergarten, you're in first grade, but then that's the social support development kicks in, right? In third, fourth grade, developmentally, being able to talk to your peers is important. So my son has difficulty with that. He has difficulty being able to talk. And so I have to really break it down to, when I see him in spaces where he's with kids, I have to observe, not as a parent, but more so as a teacher, someone that, another adult that, how can I help this child connect with some other kids? And one of the things I try to tell him is that, it's important when someone tells you their name to remember, so that when you go up to them, you can call them by their name. People want to be called by their name. That's why we all have names, right? That demonstrates a level of respect. And it's acknowledgement. So I try to tell him when we go on big birthday parties, all right, I need you to remember two people's names. You're going to meet other kids. You got to remember two people's names. And when you go back to them to say, bye, now you can have a name to say, right? So something very small like that has empowered him. He will get in the car, we'll leave a big party. He was like, Mom, I remember this person's name, or I remember that person's name, because people remember his name. So, but it has to be reciprocal. That's how we create relationships. So it starts with the name, and then it starts with, okay, so your friends are in class and they're talking about something. Even if you don't know what they're talking about, or if you don't have any experience, it's okay to say that, jump in that conversation. You could say, oh, that's interesting. So I give him little phrases that he can say to prompt the interaction. Right. So academics is important, but these smaller interactions will take individuals further in life. We can only shelter them for a short period of time. Right. And, if how things have been playing out in our society hasn't taught us anything, we have to prepare. In my opinion, this is my opinion specifically, so I want to preface that, but I believe in preparing my children for the world and not necessarily preparing them for my coverage and my protection all the time, right? There's a way that as a parent, I can protect my child that they won't see, they won't even know about. But what I need them to do is be able to interact in the world, be able to pick up on social cues, be able to know that, when someone, turns their back towards you, that probably means that they don't want to talk to you, but to also be able to know that's okay. It's okay. Everybody doesn't have to be your friend. And to be able to walk in the space of, I don't have to be liked by everybody. The people that do like me, that's what matters. I do have something to say. I do have something to contribute, and I don't have to make everybody happy.
This is so cool that you think so deeply about this. I think deeply about a lot of things as a parent, but I don't pause my brain in this space because an experience that I have with my daughter, she gets so frustrated with me. If her main crew of girlfriends is in aftercare, if I get there too early and she's the first one that has to leave,
Oh yeah,
you know,
you hit.
whatever the jam is, the jump rope, or I don't know what they in there doing. But if I'm there and she has to leave first, oh, she comes out of that school frustrated. Like, so maybe to honor her emotional and social development, you know, my old school thinking is like, hey, babe, the time I'm here is the time I'm here. So you
Right.
come on. This is not like you don't time when I get here. I get it. You should be thankful that. But no, but maybe no. Maybe her social emotional development is enough of a priority that I can give her 10 more minutes. It's just possible. Like that's not going to ruin the development of my day to give her 10 more minutes. So thank you for reminding me to honor her space for emotional and relationship development.
Yeah.
We mentioned on the phone, and you were getting into it, but building resilience in our kids,
Yes.
And preparing them to be, you know, effective and successful in the world, and not always have the coverage and the protection of their parents, us in this case.
Right.
What things can we do to just be thoughtful? You know, you can't ensure it or engineer it, but just to be mindful of how to build resilience in our kids so that they're, you know, capable and ready to go on and thrive without our protection.
Absolutely. The biggest thing that I will say is they have to fail. They have to. It's so empowering to be able to fail in a space of support than to fail in a space where you're not supported, right? Later on in life, right? So does that mean that if your child has a test that they waited the night before to study, do you still make them go to bed at their bedtime? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to support, you need your rest. I'm going to support the fact that it's probably time to reevaluate your time management, which, you know, we can talk about the next day. But I'm also going to support the fact that you're not going to do well. And that's another space that we can have a conversation. And we can be realistic about the fact that in life, you're going to not do well. And it's really not about the failure itself. It's about how do I recover? How do I then pivot, restructure, or reassess what I have been doing so that I can do better next time? How do I put boundaries in place so when I have goals, I don't let friends or, you know, other situations that are in your control impact your structure or your time management that you've set for yourself. And if we can do that while our kids are still with us at home, it will help them when they leave us and they're at work or they're in college or they're in the military and they have to take care of business. They have to be able to take care of the business that is their responsibility, at the same time then manage having some fun, having space to relax. And so if that means that your child gets a D on a test, in the grand scheme of things, is that the end of the world? No. Does that mean that, you know, they're not going to go to, you know, the college of their dreams? It might be, but that's a risk that they have to understand comes with making decisions that are not in support of your goals. We all have to learn this lesson in life. And I think that life lessons could be best fit for kids at home while they're in a loving, supportive environment. You know, if that's their environment that they're in. So teaching kids how to fail. So not only academically, but socially. So that may mean that if your child likes someone and that person doesn't like them back, how do you bounce back from that, right? I've seen a lot of young adults in college or not in college, or maybe seniors in high school, be very, they're unable to manage rejection. And that rejection can be played out in forms of violence. It can be played out in forms of stalking, and so, or self-harm. And so, you know, teaching your kids that, just because someone doesn't like you is not a reflection of you, it's more of a reflection of them, and that's okay, right? And so making it okay. And sometimes that may mean using yourself as an example to say, this person doesn't like mommy, but you know what? We still have to work together. Or this person doesn't love your dad, but that's okay, because you know what? We're going to let that person do what they need to do, and your dad is still loved anyway. So using yourself as an example. Sometimes our kids think that there's a perception that parents have it all together because all they see is parents rocking and shaking and moving, and everybody they meet is has this happy expression. Oh, that's your dad or that's your mom, but they don't really see the people that are looking at us sideways or have something bad to say, because as an adult, we've learned to navigate around those individuals and we don't bring those individuals into our spaces. But, we may have family members that really don't mean the best for us. And we still have to engage in maybe family functions where, this individual or that individual is clear they really don't care too much about us. That's an opportunity to talk to your kids about, what, I know that you've noticed such and such and such and such, but just know that it's okay because, we love each other. This matriarch of the family, grandma loves us, grandpa loves us, and that's all that matters, because auntie so-and-so or uncle so-and-so, may not, that's okay. And, we're not going to wish harm on them, really teaching them someone cannot like you, but you don't have to hate that person. You don't have to seek revenge. You just need to let it go.
Yeah, pointing back to something you mentioned just a moment ago, that if you live long enough, everyone, you're going to fail in life somehow, some way, whether it's in school or professionally, in personal relationships or your physical health. So something, everything will not succeed for you. So helping our kids have a process for dealing with failure with support while we're there and in place to support them and help them have the tools and the strategies to rebound from failures. Gosh, if we could all deal with the failures that we'll all have to deal with in life, and deal with them effectively and keep moving. Gosh, I got to help my kids while I'm there to when in the cases where they don't have high levels of success, having their back and supporting them through the process. Now you train counselors and human service professionals. What are the core things? And I'm going to try to connect this back to still parenting and childhood. Okay. What are the core things that, in terms of behaviors and perspectives, that mental health professionals need, that we can kind of plant the seeds for in our children, so that to some degree everybody carries a little mental health work, just being a person in this world? What things do the professionals do that maybe all people could do to some degree?
So number one, understand that everybody is a human being. That's number one. And number two, what makes the difference with someone who may be struggling with a particular stress or mental health illness and someone who may not, it just boils down to capacity. I may have the capacity to deal with high levels of stress, but my sister can't. And that doesn't mean that she's weak. That doesn't mean that she's, is in a bad situation. It's just capacity. And I have to respect that, her capacity to deal with stress is different than mine. So when I'm supporting her, when I'm loving on her, I have to keep that in mind. So when she wants to manage a whole bunch of different things like I do, I have to say, well, wait a minute now. Like, I think let's be realistic, this is not trying to be shady or anything, but let's be realistic. Why don't you just focus on one thing at a time? Let's do that, right? Because this journey in life is what it is. It's an individual journey. We are all on it in a different way at a different point. We are not on a race. And I know that our school system, the way our school system is set up, the way college is set up, gives the impression that we're all in a race because we matriculate together, right? And this idea that, you know, we all go to the next grade and we all go to the, it really provides a false sense of life's journey. So when you're in college and you're thinking, oh, I didn't do, and I'll pick on myself. I did not do well freshman year. And so I started my second year still as a freshman because of the credits that I was able to obtain. And it was at that point for me that I was like, okay, we are all in this individual journey. Like, we're not here to, you know, it would be nice if I was to finish in 4 years, but I am not. I finished in 5 years. It took me a little bit longer to finish and to really figure out what I wanted to do. And so I'm an advocate of, you have to respect other people's journeys and their strengths and their weaknesses, and then communicate and support them based on that. So and then, you know, if there's a level of sensitivity that might be there because it's clear you're able to do something and they're not, and they want to, then you have to temper yourself, right? You know, for the betterment of supporting my loved one, I'm going to temper, and temper meaning like, I'm not going to promote to this person, oh, I've done this, I've won this, I've won that, to the person that is very sensitive to that, right? So we want to be mindful of our areas of sensitivity, but what I'm going to do is support you always, and support you the way you need to be supported, not the way that I need to be supported. So really just understanding how to you know, look at the person and help them where they are, not where you want them to be, not where you would like to be or think that they should be. And it takes a level of confidence in yourself to remove yourself. You got to be okay removing yourself from the situation and say, you know, at the end of the day, that person has the right to make a decision on what they want to do with their life. Now, I may want the best for them, and they may want to make this decision that I don't think is best, but you know what? I'm still going to love them. I'm still going to support them, and I'm still going to be honest. But I'm going to be there. And so demonstrating that unconditional love, right? Which comes with being truthful, being honest. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think that's a good idea, but at the same time, I'm not tearing you down. I'm not talking to you. I'm still going to support you in your journey, because your journey is different than mine. And I don't feel, or hopefully we can get to a space where no one's journey should be reflected on anyone else. You have your journey, I have my journey. And, you know, if we are being successful in our individual journeys, then, you know, then that's it.
Yeah, wow. All of us, even though we've seemed to be in a cohort where it's the context was, you know, get a bunch of degrees and climb the career ladder and achieve. But gosh, that is just not the path of every person. Not even, nor should it be. Some things that are, you know, a significant priority to some of us in terms of your income and career and progression, some of that stuff just does not matter to other people. And like, so what? You got another promotion,
right?
Yeah, and they're still worthy and deserving of love, and significant, and we should embrace them. And not everybody's got a different walk. And if it's, you know, if it's something more modest, awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank goodness for the people that are hung up.
Yeah, we can celebrate, you know, the small victories, right? We can celebrate the fact that, you know, if we know someone that has really been struggling with, whether it's in, you know, their job, you know, because of their attitude, and they've had a successful 6 months, they hadn't been written up, hey, it's time to celebrate.
Yeah,
you know, it's you're still at the same place. Wow, you know, that's something to celebrate. So yeah,
I would love to have more friends that are just working in their garden, so I can come and say, look at your tomatoes. Look at you growing the heck out them tomatoes. Like,
right.
Never mind with this career stuff. Like, your garden is bumping, and I love it.
Right.
So there's definitely some other things. All right, this is about as much time as I wanted to keep you for. I mentioned that I want to probably do like a, I don't know, probably a 10-part series or something like that with you. This gave me a lot of parenting nuance and insight, and I'm going to try to work these things into my life. Okay. And not just have had a conversation about it, but to prioritize my kids' social and emotional development the same way I prioritize their academic development. Because you'll see the characteristics of that. They're pretty obvious at my home. But how am I prioritizing their emotional development? It may not be as obvious. So I need to put some emphasis into that. All right. So thank you. And thank you for everyone that watched this video for the entire time. If I could encourage you again, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.